An annoying loss, but a positive process. Let's talk about the loss in Knoxville on Locked On Mizzou.
You are Locked On Mizzou, your daily podcast on the Missouri Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, all you true sons and daughters, I'm John Miller, your Mizzou mafioso and the central scrutinizer of Missouri Tigers football and basketball. And, well, old Zakai Zeigler really showed me tonight, didn't he? I look pretty stupid at the moment, but you know what? I actually stand by the take. I'll explain more later in the program. And also a quiet night from Caleb Grill, but not an unproductive night from Grill. I mean, he was pretty good. Okay, let's talk about it more later in the program. I do want to tell you today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. And it was definitely a frustrating finish to that ball game. Obviously, with Missouri leading by as much as 11 points in the second half. Really, it felt like Missouri did just about everything right in the first half of that ball game. And it's not as though Missouri was terrible in the second half, in my opinion. In fact, I'll give Tennessee the credit. I thought, obviously, Zeigler was incredible. Obviously, the young man who I thought was the fulcrum for the Tennessee team, Igor Milicic, when he gets going offensively, things just get a lot easier for Tennessee, especially with that jump shot, because he really is a multi-talented and multifaceted player at both ends of the court. And Tennessee's definitely going to be a threat, as they seemingly are every year under Rick Barnes, to make a run in the NCAA tournament. And with all that said, an excellent Tennessee ball club and defense that made 10 out of 15 from downtown, a lot of those coming in the second half. Again, Zeigler, not the best three-point shooter on the planet, but made 4 out of 4 of his threes, all 7 of his free throws as well. That's pretty much on brand for Zeigler. But those three-pointers by Tennessee, that's not really something you'd expect. You can blame Missouri's defense to some extent, but I'm going to give the Volunteers a lot of credit. Missouri had Tennessee, much like it had Kansas, I thought, discombobulated offensively. A lot of uncharacteristic turnovers by the Vols and Zeigler in the first half. But much like Kansas, well, a much better job of handling said pressure in the second half. And, well, unlike Kansas, obviously Tennessee was able to pull out the victory. But again, with all that being said, a 57-point second half by Tennessee. My goodness. With all of that being said, the fact that Missouri only lost that game by 4 on what is really a very underrated, tough place to play on the road in college basketball, I thought overall this was a fairly encouraging result. I'm not going to go as far to say it was a moral victory. I don't really believe in that term. Just in terms of projecting forward, again, I don't know how you can be deeply encouraged by what you saw out there today. We can nitpick some things. We can be disappointed by certain players' performances. We can get to that here in a little bit. But really, overall, this is a Tennessee team that is easily a top 10 type of unit. So if Missouri can go on the road, weather the storm, that type of hot second half, and, well, still have a puncher's chance there at the end, that tells me Missouri is at the very least right on the cusp of being a top 10 type of unit itself. And here's the thing. If you're the rest of the league, if you're the rest of the SEC right now, which obviously is full of formidable opponents, you're not looking at a 4-loss by Missouri, where Tennessee obviously shot the lights out and played great in the second half, and you're going, well, that team's a fraud. We don't have anything to worry about them anymore, especially with the Tigers tied for third place still, especially tied with Texas A&M, who the Tigers are playing on Saturday. So another great opportunity to pick up a huge win for Missouri on Saturday. Again, for the millionth time, life on the road is pretty brutal in the SEC every season, but especially this season. I think Missouri's going to have a really good chance to bounce back against, well, another solid Buzz Williams Texas A&M Aggies team this weekend. Really, one of the most impressive parts of the first half was how many guys that Dennis Gates played, and really most of them were effective, even in short bursts. Guys like T.O. Barrett, who made a couple of plays, made a basket, a couple of plays for open shooters in the first half. By the way, Peyton Marshall scored inside. Jacob Cruz was ready to go, and Marquez Warwick was a nice spurt of offense off of the bench as well. But in the second half, Missouri's offense just started to sputter a little bit, and I have some thoughts about why I think that was the case here, and I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But first, let's talk about Gametime. Just very quickly here, I want to tell you Gametime, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sporting event, Gametime Picks, by the way, Gametime's newest feature, makes it so much easier to filter out the fluff, get to the best deals. So if you're ready to make your next event even better, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's Locked On College promo code for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And with the big game almost here, there's no better way to make it even more exciting than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy. It's as simple as picking more or less on at least 2 player projections. For example, you can pick more or less on Travis Kelce's receiving yards and maybe take another Chiefs receiver to go more or less. There could be, a little bit of a correlation there. Now we're thinking. But regardless of what you're thinking, you got to download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. So to my point about the league reaction surrounding this game, I just got an unsolicited text in my group chat with the rest of the Locked On SEC hosts out there, and Clint Shamblin, the Georgia host, well, he said, hey, is Missouri just a heck of a lot better at basketball than everybody is thinking? And, well, I think the answer is quite simply yes. I think the nation, the SEC, starting to take notice here. That's what happens when you're 15th in the AP poll. And, again, despite losing to number 4 Tennessee tonight by 4 in Knoxville, not exactly an embarrassment. Again, if anything, I think people are taking notice of the Missouri Tigers right now. Frankly, as well they should. Again, not trying to slap everybody on the back with a moral victory here, but if I'm projecting forward and being as objective as I can, well, really, that was probably a positive outcome if you're looking at Missouri to be, say, a top 4 or 5 seed, that type of thing, in March Madness. And while it was it was definitely an efficient night from Caleb Grill, overall, it was a quiet night from Caleb Grill, and I would definitely give Tennessee a lot of credit there. At all times, it just seemed like they were determined to have one defender on Grill, just remaining on him. He was not gonna help off of Grill whatsoever, and well, that's certainly a tactic I would take if I'm any coach remaining so far in the season here. And the thing with Caleb Grill, again, he was 4 of 5 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. The disappointing part, just only 5 shots. I would have thought that Missouri could have found a way to get Grill some more looks than that. For example, Chaz Lanier, the excellent Tennessee shooter, well, especially in that second half run there by Tennessee, Barnes had found some pin down looks in the corner that had been rather successful. Would have liked to see just some kind of maybe different action to get Grill open. But again, mostly I'm just going to give Tennessee the credit there. And really, Missouri just needed a little bit more from a few of its mainstays. In particular, Mark Mitchell, again, just struggling against length in the paint and just seems a little bit double clutchy, I'll say. There's a word I just made up, but just not going up maybe I don't know. It just seems like he's unsure with the ball in the paint right now, exactly what to do, whether he should go up strong, as they say, or look to draw contact and get to the free throw line when he is where he is, by the way, a pretty mediocre free throw shooter as well. So not necessarily a lot of great answers emerging for Mitchell at the moment, whose overall game, especially his defensive game, his playmaking, I like. But right now, man, he is really struggling to put the ball in the basket around the paint. And also Anthony Robinson. My goodness, 4 fouls in the ball game and basically hardly any time played whatsoever. 6 minutes in the ball game for Anthony Robinson and 4 fouls, no points. He's got to be better than that. Now, he did get 3 fouls in the game, so some of that, 3 steals in the game. So some of that aggression did pay off. But once again, this is becoming a pattern for Anthony Robinson. I think he's a really good player that has tremendous potential still to be tapped into. Well, he's not going to tap into it if he's sitting on the bench in foul trouble all the time. So the good news is I like guys who are a little bit maybe pushing towards the aggressive side. Hey, I'd rather rein somebody in than teach them how to be aggressive, if that makes sense. So not terribly worried about Anthony Robinson in the long term. But for this season, he's got to stop putting his teammates in a bind by getting into foul trouble lately. So that's a big thing I would watch from here on out from Anthony Robinson. And you know what? With all that being said, let's cut it short here. It's getting late here on a Wednesday night. Maybe you can hear it in my voice. Daddy is getting tired. So I'm going to go tuck in the girls, say night-night to all of you and them as well. And thanks for making Locked On Mizzou your first listen every day. And I'm John Miller. Thanks as always for listening to Locked On Mizzou.